Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Broncos country, I need somebody to explain something to me. Because at this point, it genuinely feels less like smart roster building and more like straight-up sorcery. How, in the name of all that is holy, do the Denver Broncos keep stumbling into perfectly fitting free agents this late in the offseason, year after year, like clockwork? Maybe Sean Payton has a four-leaf clover taped inside his visor. Maybe he's got a horseshoe nailed above his office door. Whatever it is, this man has an uncanny, borderline unfair ability to identify exactly the missing puzzle piece his roster needs in late June and early July, right when you'd expect the free agent cupboard to be completely bare, and somehow walk away with a contributor, and it might be about to happen again. Today we're diving deep into the Broncos' one lingering question mark heading into training camp, breaking down the available fixes, and explaining why, once again, Denver might be about to pull off one of the sneakiest roster upgrades in the entire NFL. Let's set the stage first, because context matters here. This isn't some desperate the sky is falling scenario. This is a Super Bowl caliber roster with maybe one or two soft spots left to iron out, and that alone tells you everything about how strong this team already is. We've seen this exact movie before. A couple of seasons back, Sean Payton reached into the scrap heap in the dead of the offseason and pulled out a receiver who ended up scoring a touchdown that same year. Around this exact same time 2 years ago, Payton plucked a starting caliber running back off the market who has been a staple of this backfield ever since. Time after time, deep into an offseason when most fans have stopped paying attention, this front office finds value that genuinely shouldn't still be sitting on the board. There are entire outlets dedicated to cataloging these bargain bin, high-upside free agents still floating around right now, and Denver has built a reputation for scooping up exactly the right ones. So where exactly does that leave the Broncos as camp approaches? There are a few boxes still worth watching closely. Inside linebacker is one. If training camp reveals a real hole there, don't be shocked to see a familiar face like a grizzled veteran linebacker get a call, especially depending on how a certain roster decision shakes out over a very quiet holiday weekend. And that's not a coincidence, by the way. This time of year is infamous around the league as a dumping ground for bad news. The exact stretch of the calendar when front offices quietly release players while half the football media is on vacation and not paying close attention. If a particular depth linebacker is still on this roster after the long weekend, that's actually a great sign. If he's not, keep an eye out for the Broncos circling a proven veteran edge rusher still floating around the free agent pool. But outside of the linebacker and edge rusher questions, the position that deserves the most attention heading into camp is safety. And here's why this one stings just a little more than the others. Because the safety room the Broncos rolled out last season wasn't just good. It was arguably the best in all of professional football. Let's back that up with some real substance, because this wasn't just a good vibes defense. This was a statistical anomaly. Last season, the Broncos were one of only 4 teams in the entire league to hold opposing quarterbacks under a 60% completion rate across the full season. Read that again. One of 4 teams, league-wide. And this wasn't against a murderer's row of backup caliber quarterbacks either. This secondary took on some of the most feared arms in football. A former MVP at the helm of Kansas City, a former MVP threat out in Buffalo, and a dangerous, accurate passer out of the AFC West that Denver had to face not once, but twice in the same season. Elite quarterback after elite quarterback walked into Denver's building or across from Denver's defense and walked away looking pedestrian. Ordinary, beatable. A massive chunk of the credit for that has to go to what might be the single best safety duo currently playing professional football. A tandem that combines game-wrecking versatility with veteran leadership at the absolute highest level. One half of that duo has already earned first-team All-Pro recognition earlier in his career, and followed that up with a second-team All-Pro nod last season, cementing himself as one of the premier defenders at the position anywhere in football. And the other half brings something you simply cannot coach, a relentless, obsessive work ethic that sets the tone for the entire locker room. Teammates have talked openly about how this veteran safety is already in the pool, grinding through cardio and conditioning work before most of the rest of the roster has even rolled out of bed. That's the kind of quiet, unglamorous leadership that elevates an entire unit, a trait this player has carried with him dating back to his earlier NFL stops before landing in Denver, where he's continued to be a steady, difference-making presence. And then there was the depth behind those two stars. A reserve safety who across back-to-back seasons under this coaching staff consistently proved he could step into major moments and look like anything but a backup. This is a player whose commitment to the team became the stuff of Broncos country legend. There's a story that's been told and retold on this very channel about how this player once suffered a broken rib serious enough that he wasn't medically cleared to fly on a commercial flight, and instead of simply sitting the game out, he arranged for a team staffer to drive him in an RV overland all the way to Detroit, just so he could suit up and play in that game. Somehow, not medically fit to board a plane, but perfectly fine to strap on pads and take live hits on a football field. That is the definition of embodying everything it means to wear a Denver Broncos uniform. Unfortunately, that same player is no longer part of this organization, having since signed elsewhere. And that departure is exactly why this safety room, as elite as it looked on paper last season, now carries a real and very legitimate concern heading into 2026: durability. As much as we all love this starting duo, betting your entire season, your Super Bowl aspirations, your fan base sanity on both of these players staying healthy for all 17 games is not a wager anyone should be comfortable making. The numbers back this up in a sobering way. One half of this safety tandem has only completed a full 17-game season twice in his entire career, and one of those two seasons was, thankfully, last year in Denver. The other half of that duo has never once completed a full 17-game slate in his career. Not once. And to be crystal clear, this isn't a knock on either player's toughness or durability as human beings. This is simply the brutal reality of playing safety in the modern NFL. This position requires players to treat their own bodies like human missiles on every single snap, full-speed collisions, repeated impact, and physical punishment that rivals a car crash almost every time the ball is snapped. It is, without much argument, one of the single most physically demanding positions in all of professional sports. If both of these safeties somehow stay upright and available for all 17 games, book the flight to the Super Bowl right now. But betting on that outcome, given the historical data, would be foolish. The odds simply aren't in anyone's favor there, and that's precisely why the Broncos need a real, proven answer at backup safety before the games start counting. So let's talk about the actual fixes on the table, because there are a couple of genuinely exciting names still sitting out there in free agency, and it's honestly a little bit stunning that they haven't been scooped up yet. Option number one is a veteran safety who spent last season with the Buffalo Bills, a fascinating fit for more reasons than one. Not only does this player bring legitimate starting caliber safety experience to a depth role, he also brings something you simply cannot manufacture through scouting reports alone: intimate, insider knowledge of a division rival Denver is guaranteed to face during the regular season, and very likely again in the postseason. Having a player in your own locker room who has practiced against and studied that exact opponent day in and day out is the kind of quiet, competitive edge that could swing a game. On the football side, this is a player who, just 2 seasons ago, posted a missed tackle rate of under 5%, elite, borderline flawless technique in run support. He's also shown real chops in coverage against tight ends, a matchup that gives so many defenses fits. And he brings positional versatility, having lined up at box safety, deep free safety, and even in the slot as a nickel-style defender. The one red flag worth mentioning, honestly: last season, his missed tackle rate spiked significantly, climbing up toward the 20% range, a real step back from his previous form. But even with that dip, his skill set essentially complements exactly what Denver already has in its linebacking core, where one standout linebacker on this roster is an absolute wrecking ball against the run, but can get exposed in coverage on wheel routes and checkdowns. This free agent safety profiles is almost the exact opposite: a coverage specialist who can erase a tight end or slot receiver while still being capable enough to step up against the run when needed. His film also includes a highlight reel most safeties would dream of: multiple career interceptions off some of the most decorated quarterbacks in the league, including reportedly picking off a future Hall of Fame Kansas City quarterback more times than almost anyone else who's played the position. Then there's option number two, a name that gets the blood pumping in a very different way. A 9-year NFL veteran who was an electrifying, do-it-all playmaker coming out of college. The kind of dynamic athlete who was returning kicks and making highlight reel plays on special teams well before that style of do-everything defender became a trendy archetype. Drafted originally by Cleveland, this player has bounced around the league since, most recently spending time with the New England Patriots before a stint with the Pittsburgh Steelers under a well-respected head coach. a pairing that likely would have continued had that same coach remained in Pittsburgh. Even in a limited role last season, logging roughly 100 defensive snaps, this player showed the kind of physicality and raw hitting power that makes offensive coordinators think twice. Where the first free agent option profiles as a coverage technician, this second option is pure thump, a certified hard hitter, an explosive athlete who can rearrange an opponent's game plan just through the threat of contact alone. Watching his college tape, the violence and pop he brings to contact is a genuine reminder of exactly why this position chews through bodies at such an alarming rate. It's a fundamentally different kind of collision than what you see at other spots on the field. A defensive lineman firing off the snap rarely reaches full sprint speed before contact. A safety, on the other hand, is frequently flying downhill at 15, 16 miles an hour directly into a running back closing the gap at the exact same speed. That's not a tackle. That's a controlled car crash, repeated dozens of times a game, week after week, for an entire season. It's no wonder these safeties have such difficulty stringing together full, healthy 17-game campaigns. So really, this decision comes down to picking your flavor of reinforcement. Option 1 gives you a coverage savant who can shadow tight ends and erase passing windows. Option 2 gives you an intimidating physical enforcer who thrives in the box and can deliver bone-rattling hits that change an offense's rhythm. Either move would be an exciting, meaningful addition to this safety room, and honestly, Broncos country deserves to weigh in here. Which of these two free agents would you rather see in a Denver uniform this season? But let's not forget, there's also a very real option already sitting in-house. One current roster safety has already proven he belongs, earning All-Pro recognition purely through his special teams dominance and setting a franchise record for special teams tackles in a single campaign. And according to Sean Payton himself, that path isn't some fluke shortcut. It's practically the time-honored proving ground for future contributors. Special teams excellence has quietly been the launching pad for several unexpected Broncos success stories over the years. None of those special teams standouts arrived in Denver with dreams of being a core special teams player forever. They used it as the audition to prove they belonged on defense. It's the same blueprint that helped turn a legendary Broncos running back from an afterthought into a franchise icon. After a single, unforgettable, bone-jarring special teams hit in the preseason put the entire coaching staff on notice. A hit, by the way. He reportedly never quite replicated again in his career. Because he didn't need to. He'd already made his point. In that same spirit, this current safety didn't come to Denver hoping to be a career special teamer either. He came to be a full-time safety, and his special teams dominance has been the proving ground, suggesting he's ready for a bigger role as a legitimate depth option. Add in this year's rookie draft class, which includes a developmental prospect who is still incredibly new to the safety position after converting over from wide receiver at the collegiate level. That's a name worth monitoring for the future, but realistically, he profiles as a long-term developmental project rather than someone ready to log meaningful snaps as a rookie. So where does that leave things? The dream scenario looks something like this. Bring in one of these two proven veteran free agents to add a security blanket of experience and championship pedigree. And make no mistake, one of these two options has already won a Super Bowl ring earlier in his career, meaning he knows exactly what it takes to get over the hump in January and February. Pair that with the in-house safety who's already proven his worth through special teams excellence. Let the rookie develop on his own timeline, and suddenly this safety room goes from one unfortunate injury away from disaster to genuinely one of the deepest, most battle-tested groups in the entire NFL. And really, when you step back and look at the big picture here, this whole situation says something incredible about where this Denver Broncos roster currently stands. Think about it. With training camp fast approaching, the Broncos' most glaring remaining need happens to be a position where multiple quality, plug-and-play free agents are still sitting unsigned on the open market, just waiting for a phone call. That is not a coincidence, and it is certainly not a sign of a flawed roster. That is the unmistakable signature of a true Super Bowl contender. A team so deep, so well constructed from top to bottom that its biggest lingering question mark can be solved with a single, relatively easy free agent transaction rather than requiring a total overhaul. So, Broncos country, let's hear it. Between the polished coverage specialist with the insider knowledge of a division rival and the physical, hard-hitting enforcer with the electrifying college pedigree, which safety addition would have you the most excited to see in a Denver uniform this season? Sound off in the comments below, because we want to see this debate rage on. And if this breakdown got you fired up even a little bit, do us a solid, smash that like button, drop your prediction in the comments, and if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, now's the time. Because we've got so much more Broncos coverage coming your way as training camp approaches and this roster gets put to the test. Until next time, Broncos country, this has been Brinkos, and we will see you in the very next one.